We now move on to In the Headlines, where we get to have a quick look at what the dailies have for us this morning. The hashtag still remains to be Good Morning Kenya. At KBC Channel 1 News is official station handle. Individual handles are at Regina Manyara, at Doreen Arange, at Victor Oloo, and at Jain Wambui. We start with the Daily Nation. Not too busy today. Let me just start you off with the story that has been on our news, GMK news brief earlier on. Raila promises to the Ma community. ODM leader has pledged to address historical injustices touching on the community. And this is as per the meeting that he had yesterday with representatives of the Ma community. He was able to meet delegates from Kajiado, Narok, Samburu, and Laikipia counties in Ongata Rongai. And of course, this delegation was led by its spokesman, the governor of Kajiado, that is Joseph Olelenku, who was very specific in his words, saying that Mr. Odinga was what the community needed and is the community's best bet come 2022. And he was also supported by Environment and Forestry CS, that is Keriako Tobiko, who said that Mr. Odinga, you have earned our trust. There is no other choice for presidency for the Ma community other than Raila Odinga. We will be giving you more details as per this particular daily in regards to what Raila plans to woo the Ma community with and by. Now, moving on to the next story here on the head of the Daily Nation, too hungry to learn. This is the state of affairs, and more so in the northern parts of Kenya, where children have abandoned school and are moving with their families and livestock in search for food and pasture. And this only comes after drought was declared a national disaster in the past week, and there has been delay when it comes to food aid from the government to these particular regions. There are reported that there are some schools that never resumed school since July due to the drought and the hunger-stricken schools, more specifically, that have been hard hit by this particular drought. Now, coming to the main read here on the front page of the Daily Nation, game of numbers. Voter registration patterns have been used in the past to sort of predict presidential outcomes, presidential election outcomes. So will that be the same situation this time around? IEBC is set to go on the mass registration in October, and they are seeking to enlist at least 6 million new voters. And this is mostly targeting those that have turned 18 since the previous election and those that were of age but were not registered. Now, this particular number is said to heavily include the youth, and that is a group that Raila Odinga has been very key on wooing and making sure that he secures that support. But what more lays ahead when it comes to this mass registration? We'll be giving you more details in a bit, and yeah, that's the front page of the Daily Nation for you this morning. Victor.
All right, so let me just quickly join on that debate about Raila and the Maasai elders. Raila and DP will be guns in hand for Ma votes. Maasai top guns endorse ex-Prime Minister's presidential bid. That is ODM leader Raila Odinga. Yesterday got a boost in his march to State House after Ma community top guns backed his bid to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta in 2022. A number of high-profile Maasai leaders declared their support for Raila's presidency. Straight to the headlines. Stage set for Gideon and Ruto Rift battle. Stage set for Gideon and Ruto Rift battle. KANU to introduce flag bearer by end of September to take on Rift Valley kingpin. So that is what's happening there. KANU to introduce flag bearer by end of September to take on Rift Valley kingpin. You can take a look at that story in the newspaper. Self-confessed thieves to get amnesty in new anti-corruption law. The government will provide amnesty to people who admit culpability in corruption cases in fresh efforts to net proceeds of crime without going through lengthy court proceedings. The law will offer suspects a chance to enter into agreements with the DPP instead of being tried. All right, a new approach to fight corruption. Okay, still on the front page, why Uhuru men are revamping PNU in preparation for 2022 general election. I will give you more details in thereabout. But there's a story here that is quite worrying. Kenya runs out of HIV testing kits for babies. As a result, testing of infants last month sank to the lowest. As a result, testing of infants last month sank to the lowest level since 2010. An analysis of trends by the National AIDS and STIs Control Program shows early diagnostics of infants enables providers to secure treatment of those who have HIV infection and identify those who are HIV exposed but not infected. So most babies born to HIV positive mothers are not being tested for the virus because public laboratories have run out of testing kits for infants. That is something to worry about, and I hope the government will move in with speed to ensure that this is rectified before it gets out of control. And briefly on matters health, MOH to expand vaccine cold chain capacity. The Health Ministry is in the process of expanding the country's cold chain facilities to support the COVID-19 vaccines deployment. This will be done with the support of the World Bank at a cost of 900 million shillings. Areas of focus will include establishing 25 new county vaccine stores, improving technical capacity in the 36 sub-county stores, and expanding of storage capacity in at least 1,177 facilities across the country. More of these and other stories as we continue with the program. Ray.
Wow. My front of the standard, the front of the standard, that is, has more or less what you have spoken about there, Victor. Matters of the Mao question returns to haunt the big two. And when you say the big two here, captured here is ODM leader Raila Odinga as well as the Deputy President William Ruto. Then brings in the question of now what KANU is trying to do, or rather just recalibrate itself. Because as we all spoke here, this is a campaign season. Unfortunately, when we get to this situation, that's when we remember which clusters we come from. This is a mountain, this is a lake region, this is a Rift Valley. And in the Rift Valley, we have the Kalenjins, now we have the Ma community. I mean, it's only during the elections that we actually are reminded of our roots. You know, and I like what the NCIC is doing is that it is seeking a further mandate that anyone who is going to be found culpable of hate speech is going to be barred from contesting a political seat. But then I have a question. How, what parameters, the implementation aspect of it? Because Victor here, the question of the Mao question, remember we had the 1992 Molo clashes, right?
Yeah.
We've also been seeing the evictions from the Mao forest. All this there's been a political hand or a political move behind all this, you know. And now the question is, this is a huge gamble. ODM leader has always blamed the Mao forest evictions for costing him votes in the 2013 polls, insisting that his rivals, including Ruto, turned it into a political scheme to deny him the Kalenjin vote. And yesterday, the Mao debate came up again with just months to the 2022 polls. The Mao question. This is where we end up getting divided on political lines, and from where I sit, I'd want to tell Wanjiko, the person living next to you has helped you in one way or another, or you do business with a shopkeeper, or even where you go to fuel, or you never ask where they come from. Why should it matter where they come from when we go to the ballot? Why should it? Why should it? We need to raise our bar higher. And I also think that this is an opportunity for the media to now roll out a civic education, Victor, to just enlighten Wanjiko as to what to look for in a leader. You know, talk about the constitution, what the integrity issues there, what we need, so that we can raise the bar high when it comes to our leadership. But the issue of the Mao question is something we're going to be hearing at least for this week. Remember, just yesterday, their ODM leader there met you know, leaders from the Rift Valley region, including Samburu, Kajiado, and they were meeting in Ongate Rongai there So just to show you, even if I want to take you back, the issue of Kajiado North splitting to Kajiado North and Kajiado West, we had the late Professor George Saitoti there, who was an iconic leader during his time, as well as the late Olentimama there. And whenever we went to the polls, the Ma community plays a very key role. Yes, so we need to watch this space, and this is what we have on the front page of the Standard this morning, including matters of drought. Doreen?
All right, perhaps I could just pick it up with that political angle there, and the former Prime Minister meeting leaders from the Ma community there. So part of what also these leaders asked the former Prime Minister, perhaps if he gets to become president, is that he needs to address the land issues affecting them in that particular area. But of course, I'll just be giving you more details of that in a short while. And coming to still again, just perhaps you can stick a bit with that political angle. Right now, when you talked about what was in the BBI at that time, still perhaps there, that is the post of the Prime Minister to Deputy Prime Minister. Now they want to revive that. That is the MPs who want the post of Premier back, and that structure perhaps would look something like crafting a new plan to create the positions of Prime Minister, 2 Deputy Premiers and 2 Deputy Presidents. So what does this mean, even as we talk about 11 months to just the next general elections? Looks like this MPs being spearheaded by Jeremiah Kioni are pushing forward for this, just trying to see if they can craft this new bill with that proposal there. And slightly away from matters politics, perhaps you can go to Laikipia, where as of now there's just a low key return to class, even as learning resumes in strife-torn Laikipia. And of course, we've heard from, what was there in the GMK news briefs, the RC urging parents to take their children back to school. But still, there's that fear in regards of what has been happening in that particular county. And again, on matters schools are now in rush to beat exam deadlines, where, as mentioned by the ministry, that they will not register schools that have below 30 students. This is for the KCP as well as KCSE exams there, and the deadline is tomorrow. So this is why schools are rushing up to ensure that they beat that particular deadline before that comes to a close. Again, right now, at least teachers surpassed the COVID job uptake. But there was that conversation there, the civil servant, and specifically also teachers that need to take that COVID-19 vaccine. But at least going by the numbers and just by this particular article, it looks like they've surpassed that number. So at least that's a good that's a good news there. And again, also we heard from Dr. Ahwale saying that people do not need to choose the kind of vaccine that they need to take. Whatever vaccine you take, whatever vaccine you find, rather, you need to take it because it's good, and it's good for you, and it's for your own good. And also there's literacy boost as prisons get 20 computers, at least something good for the prisons. They are just trying to ensure that they're also up to speed with different kind of courses that perhaps they'll be taking, and this is whereby more inmates will be able to undertake online learning. This is after the Kenya Prison Service yesterday received computer there for persons in the prisons there. And looks like at least we don't miss an article on CBC, given the fact that there's been a lot of conversation surrounding this competency-based curriculum. And so now what teachers are saying is that whatever complaints that parents might have regarding their assignments, whether they're given on weekends or the assignments looks like so difficult to do, those kinds of issues or complaints, parents need not to address that with the teachers, but with the principal. So it just means that perhaps what is happening is what will be happening, whether they're being done on weekends or look like heavy kind of assignments. So it just means that perhaps going by this particular article is that parents need to brace themselves more, because this is how it's actually going to look like. That is that when it comes to those CBC issues there as it pertains to matters education.
All right, before we get on to giving you more details of what the papers have for us today, we want to take a very quick breather. We'll be back to continue with In the Headlines. Stay with us.
And welcome back. And pretty fast, let's still continue giving you what's making headlines on our local dailies. There's that story there of Ruto showdown as Gideon enters presidential race. And Ruto has been the undisputed king of Rift Valley politics after replacing former President Daniel Moi. However, Gideon is scheming to reclaim the crown. Okay. It is said that Gideon's think tank has been toiling for 3 weeks to compose a distinct blueprint to be unveiled immediately after the Baringo senator officially launches his presidential bid. It is also reported that the 6-member team is housed within Nairobi's Kilimani area. On Monday, KANU Secretary General Nick Salat said KANU had decided to, quote-unquote, chart its own path and field a presidential candidate next year, and he is one of Gideon Moi's confidants. So the announcement could likely mark the beginning of the end of One Kenya Alliance. That is one thing that we'll be discussing here in the next hour with our analyst in this particular program. Now, Peter Kenneth Kabogo joined Mount Kenya Unity Talks. Kuria Kiunjuri Karua launched a caucus of region's party leaders. In photos shared by the Service Party leader Mwangi Kiunjuri on Monday, the leaders, who also included former Tetu MP Ndungu Ngithinji, were seen holding a meeting at an undisclosed location. So 2 parallel invites, one from Karua and on behalf of Mount Kenya Unity Forum, and another from National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi for the same meeting, exposed simmering tensions between various political players from the region ahead of the 2022 polls. Okay, and still on politics, quickly, push to revamp PNU ahead of election gains momentum. Nyandarua Governor Kimemia says that the Party of National Unity has a good reputation, but maintains that he is in Jubilee and supports its reforms. PNU is being rejuvenated as an alternative vehicle to the ruling Jubilee Party. However, those behind it are close associates of President Kenyatta, and the revamp could be part of a wider plot to ring-fence Mount Kenya vote bloc. Jubilee has in recent months been dogged by internal fighting, and many of its elected leaders have decamped to Deputy President William Ruto's UDA. All right, and there's that story of Raila Odinga meeting Masai community top guns who endorsed him for State House bid. Lenku says that pastoralist will no longer be a swing vote, as Kaparo adds some politicians abandoned them immediately after forming government despite making promises. Notable names promising to back the ODM boss included former National Assembly Speaker Francis Ole Kaparo and Kajiado Governor Joseph Ole Lenku. And Raila also got endorsement from Environment CS, that is CS Kiriako Tobiko, and former PS Richard Lesiyampe, among other dignitaries from the Ma community. All right.
Now, let me just jump in on that particular story.
Yeah.
You know, Ray, you were talking about this, the way it is the season. Indoor-size season ya kukatiana, season to be wood.
Yeah.
And looking at some of these promises that former PM was pledging to the Ma community, should they vote for him, and just looking at another piece that has been featured here in regards to IEBC and the numbers when it comes to voting, looking at the Ma counties of Kajiado and Narok, they have 272,033 voters, while Narok has 249,756 potential new voters that are set to be registered in this mass registration that will be starting off in October, in the next 2 weeks or so. But looking at these promises, he pledged to address quote unquote systematic marginalization of the Maasai if elected president. In his own words, he said, "You have issues of land, marginalization, human-wildlife conflict, traditions you hold dear, but that jeopardizes your desire to march at the same pace with other communities, environmental degradation and poverty, among many other issues." He went on to say that we are all concerned about this historical and current marginalization of some parts of Kenya and the Maasai, to be specific. It is the reason we will continue to push for more funds and resources to be devolved to counties. And the governor, Kajiado County, said that Mr. Odinga was what the community needed. It's the best bet for 2022 in terms of presidency. And I don't know what you guys feel about this. This is the same card that is pulled out every election. Promises upon promises upon promises. And it's not just something that former PM has done. Almost all the presidential candidates are doing this. Promises of addressing issues that they promised to address in the previous election if they're running again, and failed. Some of these promises have never been fulfilled. Others, they're pegging on the predecessors' shortcomings. But is it something that we are sort of wired to hear, and that is all we need to hear as a people? Like tukisikia tu hiyo, sawa.
And sometimes we keep saying that it's Kenyans.
Helplessly so.
Kenyans, common wananchi. But look at also what our leaders are doing. And perhaps I can just pick a bite from Senator Ledama, who said that we are sure you will become the next president of Kenya, referring to the former prime minister. And we are going to the grassroots to marshal support for your presidency bid. That is what he says. So even as we talk about Kenyans need to make informed decisions when they come to electing their leaders, look at also what our leaders are doing, just going by the promises that the former premier gave them. So that is why they are going to marshal support for him and go to the grassroots for him. So this civic education, does it need to also cut across our leaders?
It's the same buttons that are being pressed all over again.
Yeah. And you know, the politicians are smart. That is their job. And when you hear that they have got think tanks, they have got professors, they have got analysts, they have got researchers, strategists, they work in a seamless way that each and every time they do their research, they know when you go to this particular region, there's something quite emotive to them, something quite close to their hearts. The issue of Mao, we all know that at some point it cost Raila his presidency. The presidency, and when it all started, he was hated because the Mao eviction was actually between communities. So a certain community felt that they were disenfranchised in that particular region. Some felt that they were being chased away from their ancestral land, you know, but the government still maintained. And even Raila Odinga, during that time when he was the prime minister, he stood his ground and said that the reclamation of that particular region was to go on. And we all know the side effects to that. But then every politician anajua that akiongea kitu fulani, that is going to yes, huu ni mtu wetu. When you go to Nyanza, there is a particular part of that particular region that when you talk about it and you say, I promise to do this, it's like, let me put it in plain terms. As a man, when you are pursuing a lady, you know, you're pursuing a lady who you don't know, but ladies thrive under hope. You keep on promising that tomorrow is going to be a better day, tomorrow is going to be a better day, tomorrow is going to be a better day. And when you meet a lady for the first time and you promise, you know, some of them fall for such promises, but some do not. Say, hey, but now easy promises are too much. I don't think if you have got like 18 promises you're giving me on a first date, we'll even get to the 5th one. You get? That is why you find some regions decide to sway or go their separate ways because another politician came with a viable promise, something that they think can be easily achieved. But politicians know that ukinichagua, I will do this, I will deliver that. Area yenu hamjakuwa na maji for 99 years. I will bring boreholes every sub-county, starting first 100 days of my presidency or my governorship of my senator. So they're politicians and that is their business.
We forget too soon, too fast.
Exactly. And Kenyans, we love such, so to speak.
Hey, I've been quiet all along in this conversation. It's because I find it repetitive. We forget too quick, too soon. Right now we're talking about issues of drought, but what we know is that the NCBB stores are full in Nakuru. Government is offering to buy a 90 kg bag of maize at 2,500. Farmers are claiming that they spend 2,900 to actually plant, prepare, harvest a 90 kg of bag. Of maize. Yet there are people who are staring at starvation in this country. So when we talk about lowering the bar, we do it every day by the decisions that we make. And talking about civic education, that is something, I don't know who needs, I know government needs to do that, but mwerevu akirevuka mwerevu yu mashakani. Unaona? Mjinga akirevuka mwerevu yu mashakani. And for as long as Wanjiko doesn't know that he or she calls the shots,
the vicious
leaders
cycle continues.
Who are not out to deliver servant leadership will continue taking advantage of ignorance, and they will play with our emotions. Yes, when push comes to shove, they will shove, and we'll be left there bereft, wondering what happened. So I beseech those who have a platform, I as Regina, if I get an opportunity to talk to the youth, I will. I'll tell them this is what servant leadership is about. This is what the Constitution says about, who a leader, what are they supposed to do, for their constituents and such. What is within your right, because some of these developments that they come bearing are not gifts, are actually what they need to deliver for the constituents. There was a post by one of the members of parliament, will not name names, but they were saying they were apologizing that they have not had time, to actually repair a particular road, but tukutane 2022 kwa debe, I will do this when are you getting? The carrot and stick analogy that should not be there when it comes to the constituents and picking their leaders. I will not belabor the point. Do your due diligence. As a Kenyan, remember, we are all in this scope. Those who vote, those who will not, we will be governed by these leaders. And silence, those who have been saying there's actually voter apathy. And I think it's the high time you also address that. There are those, especially the youth, who feel left out for years, are saying, hakuna haja tupige kura. What I know, silence means consent. So if you're not going to show up and take a decision, don't start crying, saying that, oh, mulichagua. Your silence and failure to cast a ballot, you're okay with the decisions of the majority. Remember, in democracy, they say, the majority will have their way, but the minority will also have their say. And this is where we find ourselves. So away from matters politics, and I would allow my producer to give me a moment. I want Doreen, Jain, and Victor to pick a number between 1, 2, or 3.
Regina, are you making life hard?
Doreen has picked 3. Doreen has picked 3.
What are we choosing?
What are we choosing?
Come on, I said you choose a number between 1, 2, and 3. Doreen has picked 3. So what is on the table is 1 or 2. Jain, 1 or 2?
1.
1. So
Victor is obviously 2.
Left with
you
2.
picked 2.
Why are you picking for me?
See, you're back in lazima
You did not vote.
What if I want all of
This
them?
is a classic example.
No, you did not vote. That is what is going to happen. That is what is going to happen. So, the one who picked, because number 1, this is a question for you.
Guy.
Are you ready?
No.
Do you have a pen and paper? Stop Googling, Jane. I can see you Googling. You even don't know the question. And you're already Googling. Sign. We talked about CBC and such. Tuko hapa, lazima tutasoma tu.
Regina, why are you doing this?
Took CBC.
844.
You remember what you did when we started the show, yeah? Payback is a batch.
Oh, really?
The Jane, question 1 goes to you, Jain Wambui Kibera.
Yes, my name.
The calming of the storm by Jesus showed that he had power over na kuna kuhispa, kuna kusaidiana. The calming of the storm by Jesus showed that he had power over A, nature, B, death, C, evil, D, sin.
Nature, eh?
Aya, good. Tick. Wambui Kibera, you have done well.
What is
Question
this?
2.
Walks out.
What's happening?
Question 2
Class dismissed.
goes to Victor Oloo.
Taran, taran.
Omusalama.
Oyugis.
Oyugis. Represented
Ukiangusha
here in the
Oyugis.
house this morning. Tuko hapa lazima tusome by force by fire.
Hey.
In which of the following activities did boys and girls freely mix in the traditional African society?
Kucheza kati.
Ngoja. See, AQA, answer question asked. Now, in which of the following activities did boys and girls freely mix in traditional African society?
This is
A.
interesting. What?
Herding. B. Hunting. C. Weddings. D. Cooking.
Cooking.
Huyu alianguka. Boom. You just and African traditional society.
Jen, who sent you?
Victor Oloo.
Regina, who sent you?
Oyugis is sad.
What?
People from Oyugis are sad.
No.
Time out. Tuna consult. This is
Hakuna consult, you've already failed. Your consultation yenu ni
Answer is
null
C.
and void.
Answer is C.
Hakuna. Ushaanguka. Umekopi exam na umeanguka.
Na miguu juu.
Kabisa punguli pa.
Wacha nisikucheke na
Aya,
yangu inakuja.
question 3 for Doreen Arange,
Good to see
aka
Mrs.
teacher,
Oh.
that question is wrong.
Wewe. Who was the first Christian martyr?
Who was the first?
Christian martyr.
Steven.
Makofi.
Mr. O is happy.
Huyu alikuwa anapenda siari.
Yeah. Sasa tukipanga position, tuko na Doreen position 1, Jane position
Si pia mimi nilipata
1.
correct.
Lakini ulingoja
Kwa number 1
So
wawili.
they tie. They tie
They
question
tied.
one. So which means I'm number 2.
How now you are number last. Hauko number 2.
And on that note, you are number 3. So
Wewe ni failure. Wewe ni fail kwa hiyo
I have a
class.
receipt.
Umeanguka.
Regina.
Repeat the class. Victor, you will be
I'm not
repeating
going.
the class.
I'm not going.
You know,
for break.
Regina has done that thing that we did when you opened the show, but it's fine.
It is okay.
well.
It is well.
I
All
told
right.
you,
Wako
I'm a
utakuja.
raven. I never forget.
It is
Anyway,
well.
sawa. Thank you for attending the class. Ni vizuri tuchangamshe bongo.
Regina, pia mimi niko na swali kwako.
Wewe. How can you teach
Question
the teacher?
number 4.
Which question did you question?
Regina, accept.
Which is the
Regina,
largest
accept.
body organ?
Eh?
Which
Choices.
is the largest body organ?
Choices.
Choices.
The The skin.
Makofi kwake, amepata correct.
Nilienda shule.
Olondo ameanguka hii class kabisa. Ana need
Nilienda shule.
remedial.
Aya. Victor, redeemable question.
Oh my God.
You guys, we are doing in the headlines.
And
Allah.
children are studying. We are helping them study. You know, journalists, people think hatukwenda shule. But kama Victor,
Yes.
take 2.
Redeem yourself.
Aya. He goes to anyone, all of us, tukifunga ITH. Which is the largest body muscle?
Guy, Victor ataanguka.
Hii
Oh
ni ya
my
kila
God.
mtu. Ya
Uliza
kila mtu.
Victor, ati ya kila mtu. Hatuwezi kuwa tunambebea mzigo. Uliza Victor. Victor.
Eh,
See, I'm told I'm going to repeat class.
ushakubali.
Nishakubali. Wacheni mimi. I'm here waiting for
Maybe
you
we
to
should
the
ask
class.
Victor a history question because he's someone inclined to
I'm
politics.
not going.
Amekubali
I'm not going
kurepeat
home.
ni
I'm not
sawa.
going home for lunch. I'm here. I'm not going home for my half term. So ni sawa tu.
Ni sawa?
Sawa, nishakubali.
Ni sawa basi.
Victor umechoma.
Mnipatie pepa zangu after this.
Victor, Regina ndo ameanza hiyo, amefanya ile kitu. Kwa hivyo
Ni Regina
usijali.
ndo-
No, it is
Ah,
okay.
wait,
No, you see.
We know why she's trying to do that.
You see,
We will.
journalists.
We will
there
get
is
you.
this mentality that, you know, all journalists, la 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 la.
They've not
Tulienda
studied.
Tulienda shule.
Tulienda shule.
We are graduates.
Yeah.
We are graduates.
Watu wa
Yes.
kusaidiana tunawajua.
Aya,
Watu wa
for those who are
kuconsult,
wondering,
tunawajua.
the largest single unit muscle in the body is your bosom.
Hata director ameshangaa.
Yes. That's the largest single
Muscle.
unit muscle in your body.
Male or female?
Let me say.
Either, regardless.
Some tea.
I think you need to elaborate when you say basa.
Your glutes.
Allah?
You need to explain basa.
Okay, your rear end.
With a diagram. With the aid of a diagram.
But yes.
Yeah.
Hey.
Your posterior.
Lateral.
Cling, 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 cling.
Home time.
Home time.
Time.
Class time, home time.
Yo, time up. Teacher. Tonight,
Less animation.
Time for PE. Time for PE now.
PNP. Time for PNP.
Okay, ladies, can we do a bit of some sports now?
Why not?
Yeah, before we wrap it up.
Before we get to sports, will this be a football battle between you and Regina?
No,
not a battle,
Okay.
not a battle per se. So let's start with local events. ABSA to sponsor the event to the tune of 20 million shillings, Precious Dream, that is Kenya I-Diamond League event after world continental success. Sports Cabinet Secretary, that is Amina Mohammed, is optimistic that the country will host one of the Diamond League meetings in 2 years' time after successfully organizing and hosting the Keep Kano Classic. Amina said that Kenya's next logical step is to host the world's most prestigious athletics meeting after providing itself as a destination of choice for international sports events. This year, Kenya hosted under-20 championship and at Kasarani, Moi Sports Stadium in Kasarani, and according to the CS, it was a success. And so far, she is lobbying for that particular event in 2 years' time. Grass to Grace, Lopaga shakes off Beater Street Live to bask in top fight glory. That is Post Rangers. Josephat Lopaga fights to make sure that he is there after Austria endured an austerer, cold and abandoned streets 5 years ago. So he's fighting for his position. Further afield, Arsenal's Arteta was at his lowest after Man City defeat. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta said that he was at his quote-unquote lowest point after last month's heavy defeat by Manchester City that left them bottom of the league. Arsenal lost their first 3 league games, including a 5-0 thrashing at City before Saturday's 1-0 home win over Norwich lifted them to 16th after 4 games. So he said that that one sank him to the lowest point in the league. So Cristiano Ronaldo, time is key. That is Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar said that he will carefully manage Cristiano Ronaldo's playing time, but has to balance that with getting the 36-year-old Portuguese forward settled into the side. Ronaldo, who has rejoined United after 12 years away, marks his comeback at Old Trafford with 2 goals in Saturday's 4-1 Premier League win over Newcastle United. So, yes, he is 36, and now Ole Gunnar says that he will be trying to balance his playing time at Manchester United. And this is just my prediction that Cristiano Ronaldo probably at the end of this season could announce his exit, maybe his retirement, being that he's 36 now. He can either decide to extend his contract or just say that, you know what, he's won several silverwares, several accolades and all that, so his time, they say, always know when to exit the stage. So probably he might be at that particular point to exit and start enjoying the fruit of his labor.
Victor.
All right, sigh of relief.
Victor.
Coach.
Victor, how many times did I call
Regina,
you?
that was on a serious note.
Who said I'm not serious?
I know unataka kuguza some.
Well, you
Do you
promise
know,
hakuna football battle.
He may
There's
be
no football battle
36,
today.
but he scored more goals than Arsenal did.
No, it's okay.
With
It's
his
okay.
comeback.
It's okay.
What are you talking about?
We began with a disclaimer and we said atutaki vita.
No, I'm an India wrong side. You can't say that.
It was
Who
just an
told you
analysis.
He wants to
I wasn't
resign. If he
attacking you.
wanted to resign, he wouldn't be at Manchester.
It was just.
Wambui and I are here to declare peace.
It was just an analysis.
Nimejua firibi hapa.
Analysis for who? Well, Soldier says we are going to manage our CR7. Sawa? You're not even supposed to say that because he scored more goals than Arsenal had. Now Arsenal Christians again. Sawa?
Arsenal.
Leave us alone. Yeah.
All right.
A luta continua.
Anyway, we wish all the best to Malkia strikers as they focus on beating Tunisia tomorrow. All the best, ladies. As they say, women run the world. Why not? We can do this. It's a wrap. Remember, you can get further details on those stories that have been making headlines on our website. That is www.kbc.co.ke. And as you give it a close, I'd want to go to Twitter to just sample some of your views. We start off with W_M, that is William Mwaburi. He says, good tune from Watamu. Leo nimejua hidden name ya Jain Wambui. Na Victor Oloo Boychild unaonewa hapo. Well, trust a dude to say that. Anyway, Vince Guru, I listened to you and you're making a lot of sense. Personally, it's not that I do not want to vote. It is the fact that I'm seeing the same faces have seen since the way back. I need a fresh bunch of leaders. That is Vince Guru on Twitter. Further on, Brian Mukasa says, Kenya does not need promises nor solutions. What we need is civic information to elect good leaders. We are the compact majority and we need to elect good leaders. We do not need fake promises. We want honest leaders. I hear you. We are in the same boat. Jamal Victor says, good morning. He's tuned in from Kitengela. Remember, we can do this same times tomorrow. We are not done yet. We have so much in line and in store for you this morning. Remember, further details are available on our website as www.kbc.co.ke. Happy watching. We have so much. You're watching Good Morning Kenya. I'm Regina Manyara.